program is brought to you in association with First National Bank of Botswana.
FNB, how can we help you?
According to Gettysburg, the average person will spend a third of their lifetime working. This will translate to around 8.5 hours at work during the week for full-time employees. We work because we need to put food on our tables, have clothes on our backs, and a roof over our heads. This will in turn, of course, keep the economy running. But having this much input into a whole economy is bound to cause some inconveniences. These may include work-induced stress from constantly chasing time to meet deadlines, fatigue from working overtime, and of course, general office squabbles arising from working with other people. Seeing as most of our lives are spent trying to keep up with work, the environments within which we try to attain these deliverables have to be up to a certain standard, which is conducive and healthy, especially for our mental well-being. It has been shown that having work environments that support our overall well-being as employees will not only help us deal with the pressures of work, but will also help the company's profits as well. With the current pandemic still ongoing and many people having to adjust to these working conditions, how can employers help foster healthier working environments for the well-being of their employees? We are joined here by psychotherapist Kelezo Motsage and human resource specialist Stuart White, who joins us via Zoom meetings. Do you think that employees have enough access to mental health support services at their workspaces?
I think it depends on the organization of the company. I think at the end of the day, with COVID and all the implications that have come with the pandemic, more companies have become aware of the importance of providing mental health facilities or services. So it's really company dependent, but there is still quite a large gap, which is why, for example, with us as the Botswana Network for Mental Health, we offer these different services as an outsourced service. So making sure that companies that don't have in-house care can reach out to us so that we can provide different workplace mental health strategies, training, different procedures that need to be put in place, and the counseling services as well for everyone to get the care that they need.
I think the subject of mental health and wellness for workers is relatively new. The idea of wellness definitely came into business in the last 10, 15 years. But when we spoke about wellness in those days, it was more about the physical wellness, the idea about having a good diet, having exercise, trying not to be stressed. So the whole subject of mental health is relatively new. A number of companies are starting to look at that as a specific area of wellness and are trying to put in programs for it. But it really is just at the beginning stages, both of our understanding of it and also what we will do in business about it to help and assist employees.
We asked Stuart White how much emphasis is put into requiring employers to afford employees access to mental health services within their places of work.
This is a discussion or a question that's still on the agenda in terms of what will the employer's role be with that. So, for example, there's one school of thought that says, well, if an employee has cancer, do we expect the employer to give those resources or give help with that? The answer would be no. With mental health, there's the same debate. Should we be getting into that space in terms of having programs inside the organization, like a psychologist or whatever, or counseling, or giving them access to a helpline that people can phone if they're not feeling very good? So what we do and how we do it is still very much open for debate, because when you take the issues of mental health into the organization, you also take the opportunity to I guess get rid of confidentiality for the employee. And maybe they don't want that with the in-house counselor or whatever the case may be. So it's something that has to be negotiated, but a lot of companies are offering things like phone lines where people can phone anonymously and speak to someone on the other end of the phone about their mental health issues.
How important do you think it is for anyone to have, access to the right mental health support services, especially now during the pandemic?
I think it is of utmost importance because at the end of the day, our mental faculties enable us to either do a good job or a bad job. they enable us to work to the best of our potential or not, or be limited in the work that we can do and in fulfilling our roles. So it's so important for us to get the right care, for our mental health to be taken care of through different challenges that we go through, whether it's issues at home, whether it's issues in the office, whether you actually have a mental health condition, whether it's anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, the list goes on. It's important to get the right care so that you get the right treatment. If you are cared for in the workplace, then you will be productive. It will limit absenteeism and it will limit presenteeism as well. Presenteeism is where people arrive at the office, but they're not able to function. They're not able to fulfill their roles productively because they are bombarded by stress or relationship issues or issues within the workplace if it's a toxic environment. And then absenteeism, we know, is people just not pitching, not showing up to work, which is a problem for the employer at the end of the day. So, and obviously it impacts the economy as well. So it's very important for the right care to be given to everyone.
It's critical that they have access to mental health resources, let's just say, because first of all, I don't know if there are enough things in our society that is built up for dealing with mental health, especially mental health in the work situation. So in the absence of that, and in the absence of people knowing where to go, the organization should be able to say, if you're feeling this way, or you're suffering with these sort of things, this is what you can do, and this is how the company can help it. Whether it's with a helpline, or whether it's having trained counselors or psychologists in the building, I'm not quite sure how that needs to look, but I think it makes sense for organizations to make it available, because the amount of time and productivity that is lost to mental health issues is very high.
So what do you think needs to change in our conditions of service so that there's an acknowledgement of the importance of, having mental health support services, especially at work?
I think we need to definitely get the subject out there in terms of talking about what mental health is. I think it's where we were maybe years and years ago with things like HIV and AIDS, where there was so much stigma to it. We still have a lot of stigma to mental health. You can have a sore back, you can have cancer, you can break a leg, that's allowed. But if you've got mental health, there's a big question mark about whether you're okay to work or not. Mm-hmm. So I think we need to get the conversation out. We need to say this is something that most people, all people, at one stage of their life, the statistic is 25% of people will at one stage deal with mental health in the work situation. So it's a real issue. We need to be talking about it so that it's not something you hide.
There needs to be an attitude shift, right? Where companies and organizations accept the fact that at the end of the day, if the workforce is not mentally sound, the goals will not be reached. They will not be as productive as they need to be, right? And also looking at the workforce as human beings first. People are not just numbers on a payroll list.